The morning heat of Dubai shimmered against the skyline. Gold towers cutting through a pale blue sky, glass glinting like blades. Inside one of the city's most exclusive restaurants, La Vie d'Or, time seemed to move slower than usual. Elena Brooks balanced a tray in her trembling hands. Her uniform was crisp but tired, her eyes quiet but restless. She wasn't like the other waitresses. There was a poise about her, something polished, refined. But it was hidden under the weight of exhaustion and something deeper. Fear. "Table 5, move faster," barked the manager, Mr. Karim, his voice cutting through the soft music. Elena bowed her head and rushed forward, her composure fragile. Every day she moved like a ghost, unseen, unappreciated, and deliberately unnoticed. That's how she wanted it. Because in another life, she had been someone else. Someone powerful. Someone hunted. The tray slipped. A glass of expensive wine shattered at the feet of a man in a white linen suit, a regular known for his wealth and arrogance. The restaurant froze. Karim's face turned red. "Elena, do you have any idea who you just spilled that on?" She opened her mouth to apologize, but the words came out small. "I'm sorry, sir." "Sorry?" the man sneered. "You can't even carry a glass properly? What kind of woman?" "That's enough," Karim interrupted, forcing a fake laugh. "You're fired, Elena. Collect your things and get out before you embarrass us again." The entire restaurant fell silent. Elena stood frozen, her pride battling with her pain. She could have begged. She could have explained. But she only nodded, removed her apron, and whispered softly, "Thank you for the opportunity." As she stepped out into the burning sunlight, the city roared around her, cars, voices, life moving on as if she didn't exist. Her reflection in a passing car window caught her attention, her brown hair messy, her uniform stained, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. She looked nothing like the woman she once was, Elena Sinclair, heir to the Sinclair fortune, one of the richest families in Europe. A name she had buried. A past she had fled. The first drop of rain fell, rare in Dubai, heavy and sudden. Within moments, the skies broke open. Elena walked aimlessly through the storm, her tears indistinguishable from the rain. The city lights blurred into streaks of gold and red. The wind carried the scent of thunder and despair. People rushed for shelter. Elena didn't. Because for the first time in months, the rain felt like freedom. She whispered to herself through the downpour, "Maybe I was never meant to belong anywhere." Behind her, unseen, a black SUV slowed to a stop. A man inside, dressed in a tailored suit, eyes sharp and unreadable, watched her walk into the storm. He murmured to his driver, "Follow her. I want to know who she is." The city of Dubai had just met its most unexpected story, the fired waitress who was far more than she seemed. The rain poured harder now, thick, heavy drops falling against the glass buildings like shattered pearls. Dubai, for once, looked drenched in melancholy. Elena crossed the street barefoot. Her shoes had broken somewhere between the restaurant and the bridge overlooking the marina. The storm wind clung to her hair plastered to her skin. She walked without purpose, until a honk startled her. A sleek black SUV pulled up beside the curb, the tinted window rolling down slowly. "Miss," a deep voice called out, calm but commanding. "You'll get sick walking like that." Elena turned her head slightly. The man behind the wheel wasn't the driver. He sat in the passenger seat, his presence impossible to ignore. He was in his mid-30s, tall, dark-haired, and unmistakably powerful. Everything about him, his watch, his tone, even the way he spoke, screamed authority. "I'm fine," she said, turning away. "Please, leave me alone." But the man didn't. He stepped out into the rain. The water hit his tailored suit, but he didn't flinch. He approached her with quiet intensity, Not arrogance, but concern wrapped in control. "At least take this," he said, offering his coat. "I don't need your pity." He studied her face. There was something in her eyes that made him pause. "You don't need pity," he said softly. "You need a chance." That stopped her. She looked up, and for the first time, their eyes met fully. His name was Adrian Holt, CEO of Holt Enterprises International, one of the most influential business figures in the Middle East. A man known for his power, his cold logic, and his refusal to ever get emotionally involved. And yet, as he looked at this drenched waitress, something stirred, a curiosity he couldn't define. "Get in," he said finally. "No strings. Just get out of the rain." For a long moment, Elena hesitated. Her instincts screamed to walk away. She'd left behind a world of wealth and men like him, the kind who used kindness like a weapon. But her body trembled. Her lips were pale. And for the first time in weeks, she had nowhere else to go. She climbed in. The car interior was warm, scented with leather and faint cologne. The driver glanced in the mirror, waiting for orders. "Take us to the Marina Residences," Adrian said quietly. Then, turning to her, "What's your name?" She hesitated. "Elena." "Just Elena?" She nodded. "Just Elena." The silence that followed was almost cinematic. The hum of the engine, the rain on the windshield, two strangers carrying different storms in their hearts. When they reached his building, a towering glass monument by the sea, she tried to hand him back his coat. He refused. "Keep it." "Why are you helping me?" she asked. Adrian looked at her for a long time before answering. "Because you look like someone who's lost everything, and I know how that feels." The elevator doors closed, and for a second, she caught her reflection beside his, two worlds colliding, the billionaire and the runaway heiress, neither knowing the other's truth. That night, as she lay on the couch wrapped in his coat, Elena whispered into the dark, "Thank you, whoever you are." And from the balcony above, Adrian watched the rain fade, his eyes shadowed. He didn't know why he had brought her home. Only that something about her felt familiar. The next morning, the Dubai skyline shimmered again, sunlight dancing off the golden towers as if the storm had never happened. But inside Adrian Holt's penthouse, silence lingered like a ghost. Elena woke to the faint scent of coffee. The apartment was vast, marble floors, tall glass windows opening to the endless Arabian Gulf. She sat up slowly, feeling both safe and uneasy. It had been months since anyone had shown her kindness without asking for something in return. A soft voice startled her. "You're awake." Adrian stood near the balcony, shirt sleeves rolled, holding two mugs. He handed her one. "You slept like you haven't slept in years." She smiled faintly. "Maybe I haven't." For a moment, they simply stood there, two strangers framed against the skyline, the sound of waves below. He studied her, the way she held her mug carefully, the hesitation in her smile, the trace of something noble in her posture that didn't fit the image of a simple waitress. "Where did you work?" he asked casually. "La Vie d'Or," she replied softly. Adrian's brows lifted slightly. "That place caters to royal clients. Surprised they'd fire someone like you." Elena looked down. "I dropped a glass. That was enough." But her tone was calm, too calm, like someone who had survived worse. Later that day, while she was tidying up the living room to repay his kindness, a framed photo on his shelf caught her attention. Adrian shaking hands with a man she recognized instantly. Her father. Her chest tightened. She froze, staring at the image of Edward Sinclair, the same man she had abandoned a year ago, the man who had chosen business over family, status over love. Before she could move, Adrian's voice came from behind her. "You know him." Elena's throat went dry. She turned slowly, masking her panic. He's a famous businessman. Everyone knows him. But Adrian noticed the tremor in her hand. Right. He didn't press further, not yet. That night, as she washed the dishes in silence, he approached quietly. You know, he said, leaning against the counter, I used to believe people like you didn't exist. People like me, she asked. The ones who still say thank you after being broken. She blinked back emotion. Maybe we just learned to live with the cracks. Adrian looked at her then, really looked at her, and something shifted between them. For the first time, his cold exterior softened. And for the first time in months, she felt sane. But truth has a way of revealing itself, not through words, but through the eyes of those who notice too much. Later that week, Adrian's assistant dropped off a guest list for an upcoming golf investors gala. Among the names, one caught his attention. Elena Sinclair, presumed deceased. His heart skipped. He glanced at the woman humming softly in the kitchen, her hair tucked behind her ear. And suddenly, the truth hit him like lightning. The fired waitress wasn't who she claimed to be. She was the missing heir to one of Europe's most powerful empires. The woman he had pitted was royalty in exile. He said nothing. Not yet. But the revelation burned in his chest, part awe, part anger. Because now he had a choice. Expose her, or protect her secret. And as the night deepened, Adrian knew only one thing. Elena Sinclair had just changed everything. The following evening, Dubai glittered like a jewel against the sea, a city alive with secrets dressed in gold. Inside the Marina Grand Ballroom, the annual Golf Investors Gala was in full swing. Violins playing, champagne flowing, laughter echoing against glass and marble. Elena stood before the mirror in Adrian's penthouse, her hands trembling as she fastened the zipper of a borrowed black gown. She had planned to disappear quietly, to leave before her past caught up. But Adrian had insisted she come. You'll be safe, he'd said. Safe. The word tasted like irony. When they entered the ballroom together, heads turned instantly. Adrian Holt, the untouchable billionaire, rarely brought anyone to public events, let alone a mysterious woman no one recognized. Elena kept her eyes down, praying no one would notice. But fate, as always, had other plans. Across the room, a familiar voice sliced through the music. Elena. Her blood froze. Standing near the stage, holding a glass of wine, was Edward Sinclair, her father. His eyes widened in disbelief. The room seemed to spin. The conversations fell silent one by one. Elena Sinclair, a reporter whispered. She's alive. Adrian's jaw tightened. He hadn't meant for it to happen like this, but there it was. Her secret, ripped open under the glare of chandeliers and camera flashes. Father, she whispered. Edward stepped closer, anger flashing behind his eyes. After everything, this is where I find you? In his company. He shot Adrian a cold glare. Is this how you disgrace our family name? Elena's voice shook. You lost the right to speak of family when you tried to sell my life for your company's merger. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Adrian moved closer to her, protective instinct rising. That's enough, he said sharply. But Edward wasn't done. She's an embarrassment, running away like a child, pretending to be a servant. You think the world will forget who you are. Elena's eyes filled with tears. I wasn't running from who I am. I was running from you. The silence that followed was deafening. Adrian placed a hand on her shoulder, steady but gentle. She doesn't owe you her pain, he said. Edward's eyes narrowed. And you, Mr. Holt, what do you gain by protecting her? Adrian's reply was simple, quiet, but unshakably firm. Something your money could never buy, respect. Security escorted Edward out as whispers filled the ballroom. Cameras flashed. The illusion of control shattered. That night, back at the penthouse, Elena sat on the floor, her gown ruined, her heart aching. "I should have told you," she whispered. Adrian knelt beside her. "You didn't owe me the truth. But you owe yourself peace." She looked at him, the man who could have exposed her, but chose not to. The man who saw her not as an heiress, but as Elena. "Why did you protect me?" she asked. Adrian's eyes softened. "Because I've built an empire from glass walls, and you're the first person who ever looked past them." For the first time, she let herself cry, not from guilt, but release. And in that silence, something unspoken formed between them, fragile, undeniable, and real. But peace never lasts long in a world ruled by power. Outside the penthouse, cameras flashed again. The story had already leaked. Runaway Heiress found, living with billionaire Adrian Holt. And in the shadows, a powerful rival smiled coldly, seeing an opportunity to destroy them both. Morning came slowly, not with sunlight, but with headlines. Elena woke to the sound of Adrian's phone buzzing endlessly on the glass table. She didn't have to read the screen to know what it was. The runaway heiress returns, Adrian Holt's secret woman. Her image was everywhere, splashed across news sites, gossip blogs, business channels. Her secret, once guarded like a heartbeat, was now public property. Adrian stood by the window, jaw clenched, phone in hand. Someone leaked it from the gala. My guess, Sinclair Industries. Elena closed her eyes. My father. He turned toward her. He's using the scandal to force your return. He wants you under his control again. She shook her head slowly. No. I won't go back. Not this time. There was steel in her voice, the quiet strength of a woman who had finally stopped running. I spent a year hiding behind lies because I was scared to face my own name, she said. But now they can have it. I'm done being their story. Adrian watched her, struck by the shift in her, from fragile to fierce, from broken to brave. Then we fight, he said simply. Within hours, Adrian's PR team was on damage control. But instead of denying the rumors, Elena did something no one expected. She faced the cameras herself. Standing on the terrace of Holt Enterprises, microphones pointed her way, she spoke with calm conviction. Yes, she began. I am Elena Sinclair. I walked away from the Sinclair empire not out of rebellion, but survival. I was tired of being a daughter in name and a stranger in soul. She paused, the world watching. I worked as a waitress, not because I fell, but because I wanted to feel again. That speech broke the internet. Not in scandal, but in empathy. People saw not a runaway heiress, but a woman who had found her voice again. Her courage shifted public opinion overnight, and for the first time in her life, Elena Sinclair wasn't defined by her family's money, but by her truth. After the press conference, Adrian found her on the rooftop, looking out at the city she had learned to love. The city where she lost everything and found herself again. You didn't just face them, he said quietly. You owned them. Elena smiled faintly. Maybe I just stopped apologizing for existing. He stepped closer, his voice soft. For what it's worth. I'm proud of you. She looked at him, her eyes glistening. For what it's worth. I'm proud of you too. They stood there, the wind warm, the world below humming with life. Two souls once broken by pride and fear, now united by truth. But even as peace settled between them, a shadow still lingered in the distance. Her father wasn't done. And his revenge would come not through anger, but through the one thing that could hurt her most. Love. The sun fell behind the Dubai skyline, setting the towers ablaze in molten gold. The world had changed for Elena Sinclair, and so had she. No longer the frightened waitress, no longer the runaway heiress. She was simply Elena, a woman who had faced her past and refused to kneel before it. But peace, as always, was fragile. A single message shattered the quiet that evening. Meet me. One last time.
No guards. No Adrian.
Or everything you've rebuilt, gone. Father. She stared at the screen, her pulse quickening. He still held shares, power, and secrets that could destroy not just her, but Adrian too. She knew what he was capable of. Adrian entered the room, phone in hand. What's wrong? She hesitated. He wants to see me. His expression darkened. It's a trap. Maybe, she whispered. But some ghosts don't stop haunting you until you face them. He reached for her hand. You don't owe him a thing. Her voice trembled, but her resolve didn't. I owe myself closure. That night, beneath the marble arches of the old Emirates Club, Elena walked alone through the empty courtyard. The fountains murmured softly, the scent of jasmine hung in the air. Edward Sinclair waited by the terrace, his silver hair catching the moonlight, power still clinging to him like perfume. So, he said coldly, the world's darling returns to confront her father. Elena stood tall. No, father. I came to free myself from you. He smirked. You think a few speeches make you strong? You'll crawl back when they turn on you. The world doesn't forgive broken names. Then I'll build a new one, she replied. With my own hands, not yours. Edward's mask cracked. You're still my daughter. She stepped closer, eyes fierce. You had a daughter. But you traded her for another deal. Tonight, you lose the last thing you thought you owned, me. The silence cut deep. Edward's face faltered, the proud titan reduced to a lonely man standing in the ruins of his own control. From behind, Adrian appeared. He'd followed her after all. His presence was calm but protective, his eyes never leaving Edward. You've done enough damage, Adrian said quietly. Walk away before you lose her completely. For the first time, Edward looked at Adrian, and saw not a rival, but the man his daughter had chosen. He exhaled slowly, the fight leaving him. You're just like your mother, he murmured. Too much heart, not enough fear. Elena's voice softened. Maybe that's why I survived you. She turned, leaving him under the cold light of the moon, a king without a throne, a father without forgiveness. Weeks later, the world had moved on. Sinclair Industries stabilized under new leadership, and Elena officially renounced her claim to the fortune. The headlines faded, but her story lingered, a symbol of rebirth, strength, and truth. One evening, she stood on Adrian's balcony overlooking the marina. The sea stretched endlessly, the same place where her journey had begun in the rain. Adrian came beside her, silent for a moment. You know, he said, when I found you that night, I thought I was rescuing you. She smiled softly. And now? He looked at her, truly looked at her. Now I know you were the one who saved me. The city lights reflected in her eyes as she whispered, funny how rain can bring people together. He chuckled. And change everything. Their hands met. No promises, no grand declarations. Just quiet understanding between two people who had been broken and rebuilt by love and truth. Above them, the sky was clear, not a trace of storm, only peace. And as the waves shimmered below, Elena finally smiled, the kind of smile that belongs to someone who has come full circle. They say every storm ends eventually, but no one tells you what comes after. For me, the rain wasn't punishment. It was a baptism, a way to wash off the lies, the masks, the noise of a world that only loved perfection. I lost everything once, my name, my family, my dignity, and I thought that meant I was nothing. But the truth is, you only find yourself when there's nothing left to lose. I was the waitress who served the world's wealthy, the heiress who hid from her own blood, the girl who forgot how to dream. But somewhere between fear and freedom, I met someone who didn't want my name, only my truth. And in that moment, I realized love isn't about saving someone. It's about seeing them, completely. To those still running, from pain, from shame, from themselves, stop. The world will never hand you peace. You have to make it. I am Elena Sinclair. Not the runaway heiress. Not the fired waitress. Just a woman who learned to start over, and to love again. And if the rain ever finds you, let it. It just might be your beginning too.